All right, time for my November update of the fish room. I didn't do an October one because I was quite busy. What you see in front of you is my 265-gallon tank. It's been up and running. It'll be 4 weeks tomorrow. So what we have in here is the Tiger Oscar Tigger. I've got, I don't know, 15 or so silver dollars. Some from Fish Factory, some from the North Jersey Aquarium Society auction, and a couple being rehomed from Ben, Carol, and Tom. Got 5 tinfoil barbs, 9 clown loaches, and a handful of Guianacara, 2 different species. These little guys hang out down at the bottom there. Challenge in feeding this tank is putting enough food in to let food get down to the bottom for the little guys. So this tank goes through a lot of food. And oh, I almost forgot my big pleco, who's kind of hiding down there for the moment. He has a clown loach swimming on top of him. So yes, this was quite the setup. Had to reinforce floor joists, took 4 guys to move the tank in. Had to level it, you can kind of see on the bottom. And pretty happy with how it's going. Running 2 Fluval FX6 filters, and then I have 3 sponge filters which were already cycled, so that's how I started the tank, with some established media in the Fluvals as well. Water's looking a little bit tannic at the moment from the driftwood. This tank is due for a water change. Gonna get on that tomorrow. But so far, really happy with how it's turned out. All the fish are doing pretty well, and we'll get more of an update on this tank as the months progress and the fish all grow and everything settles in. All right, then we have here Charlie and Lulu, the Parachromis locelli pair. They are recently relocated. This tank was upstairs, and now it is in our front entryway. The fish have not shown any interest in spawning as of yet. I think she's still a little bit small. I'm gonna turn on the light in here so you can see a little bit better. This is our entry hallway, so of course it's the perfect thing to see when you walk into the house. And yeah, so these guys are doing pretty well. I think he got a little stressed and beat on her a little bit when they first moved into their new tank, but it looks like they're settling in okay. All right, then we have the 54 corner planted tank. Really no changes to this tank. I think I did divide some of the bigger crypts that were in the tank. They were starting to have multiple different sections that I split up. I also lost an Anubias. Well, I didn't actually lose it. I know where it is. It's floating right there. It came unglued, so I need to get it back where it belongs, but I'm not in a real big hurry to do that. So this tank, again, my Zen tank, not a lot of problems with this, haven't changed much in it, and continues to do really well. All right, my 55 here, this is the one that used to have severums and angelfish in it. I ended up converting this over to basically give a tank for these 2 golden acaras. I'm hoping to actually get them to spawn and then not eat their babies. I'd like for them to raise their babies up to a week or 2 at least before I pull them. But they did spawn immediately after getting in this tank, and I thought, you know, with minimal other fish in the tank and not really predatory fish, that they would raise their babies. But no, they defended them wholeheartedly for a day and then ate them all. So that's Beavis and Butthead, my pair there. Have a pair of swordtails, and then just some snails and Siamese algae eaters in here as well. Alright, this tank here, we have the Viejas synspillums. Got one here hiding in the plant, and another one actually out in the open. These guys were incredibly shy when I first got them, so I added some mollies into the tank, which has helped. They've been effective dithers, and the Viejas do come out to eat, and they occasionally leave the shelter of the plant and something else, the rocks and whatnot. But we're gonna see how those go. It is a male and a female. They're quite young yet. I have no idea if they'll take interest in each other, but for now they're just gonna hang out and grow out a little bit in this 29 gallon. Alright, then we have Chaos Tank of random aggressive grow out fish, which has become a little bit of survival of the fittest in this tank. I did sell the blood parrots at auction, so at this point this tank only has one hybrid, which is a red Texas, who's up there. But otherwise I really just have a random mix of fish. I'm going to see how they continue growing out and decide how I eventually want to stock this tank. But for now, things seem to be going okay in here. Alright, then this little sleeper tank, I probably haven't talked a whole lot about it because these fish are so shy, but I've got the Amatillania septum fasciata, so these purplish color, and I'll call them convicts. I know they're not convicts, but had a large male that I picked up at the Keystone Clash auction, and then I supplemented that with another male and 2 females to see how they pair up. So the large male did pick a female, and they did spawn, and you can actually see him out being semi-aggressive right now. They're defending fry that are free swimming. They're pretty good parents. The poor other 2 are hiding behind the filter on the other side. And I do have some little wild platies in here as dither fish. So hoping that these can be perhaps my first bat points, and that they'll continue taking care of their babies until they're big enough that I can pull them and grow them out further. Alright, I'm going to sneak up on this tank because these guys are still really shy. I have here the 5-spot jewels, and this is actually the Hemichromis frampangi. This is a breeding pair of F1s. So I got the female here on this side, and if you see under the rock here is the male. They'll periodically eat when I see them, but they don't really swim around if they see motion much. So if I watch them from across the room, I'll see them swimming around. They do look at each other through the divider, but I want to wait until they show a bit more interest in each other and color up a little bit more before I try pulling the divider to introduce them to each other. Alright, then I have another foray into a little planted tank. This is a little 20 long, and it's a mess right now. The crypts all melted when I planted them, so I keep having random bits of plant floating around. It's starting to get to the point where I think most of the leaves that are going to die off have done so, and I'm starting to get nice new growth. I've got the Corydoras equus wild caughts in here. There's 8 of them, and then I also put in some platies. The cories are pretty picky eaters as wilds. They will eat bloodworms, but the random pellets that I've been feeding them, they don't really go for those very well. So this is probably going to be a bit of a high maintenance tank for a while until everyone settles in and I figure out what they'll eat and what they won't eat. And eventually, though, I think this will grow in nicely once the crypts and one of the swords grow further, and then shade the Java fern and the Anubias a little bit more so I don't have such an algae issue going on. Alright, and then we have this joker. I picked him up from Fish Factory. Beautiful Midas here. Love the coloring. Not sure what I'm going to name him, but so far I'm calling him Joker because his eye and mouth markings actually remind me of the Joker from Batman. And he is a picky eater. I tested this with Donnie at Fish Factory, and he said, oh yeah, he eats frozen krill and occasionally would eat a pellet, which every pellet I've given him he spit back out at me. But he is eating bloodworms. But I think I need to try to break him of that and get him to actually eat pellets. So we will see how this Battle of the Wills goes. And I also have a poor little female flowerhorn in this tank. I thought maybe he would tolerate her, and she has been pretty much hiding in caves and behind the filter. So, to be determined if he's just establishing himself as the tank boss and he'll eventually tolerate her, or if I'm going to have to rehome her. But this guy's cool. I like him. It's going to be an interesting personality to figure out. And so that are my tanks. I'm going to walk briefly over and show you Heinz the flower horn in my son's tank, because he's doing really well. Alright, so bonus footage of Steven's tanks. We have here his 40 breeder, which has 9 California Greenvale Angels, which of course are begging at the top of the water the second I walked in the room. Got some Bolivian Rams, some albino Cories, a trio of Lyretel Mollies, and this tank just grows amazingly well. The plants look awesome. So Steven takes really nice care of this tank. And then in the tank below here we have Heinz the Thai Silk flower horn, who of course sees a person and is going to look face on into the camera. Try to get a side view of him. But yeah, there he is. He's a stunner. He's a really high quality flower horn. I know there are those of you who are not fans of flower horns, but this, if you're into it, he is an amazing fish. Doesn't quite have the personality that Steven's fish Kevin had, and by the way, Kevin got traded into the fish store because we wanted to keep this guy and see what he would develop into, potentially a showfish, but he's still a little shy, so we're working on the personality, and Steven takes a lot of time with him and tries to train him to respond to people. So that was the bonus footage. Those are two of Steven's tanks anyway, and stay tuned for next month's update.